Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I'm excited to have conversations around the world of men's mental wellness and talk to people who are in the trenches, helping other people, helping men specifically, navigate this ever-changing, more complex world. And today's guest is certainly in that category. His name is Bill Ritchie. Coach Bill is Coach Bill for You. So the number 4 and the letter U.com. CoachBillForYou.com is his email or his website, I should say. And Bill's a cool guy, fellow Canadian, helping people with the stuff that life throws at us. And he's a guy who became a personal development coach for people out of his own journey, and we go into that in the conversation here today. It's a really nice conversation where we just talk about where he has come from, but more specifically, we talk about people who are people pleasers and how to break that cycle and how dangerous it can actually be, for those people. And we talk about all sorts of things, why men struggle to reach out. We certainly talk about that, but for anybody who's listening to this and you might be going through something, or maybe you don't even realize you're going through something, we talk about boundaries. We talk about all sorts of fun stuff that when I say fun, towards making your life better. Very grateful for Bill and what he does in this world. And I hope you enjoy my conversation with Coach Bill Ritchie. Okay, Bill, I'm excited to have you on here for a variety of reasons. But before we get to what it is that you do and how you are helping to make the world a better place by helping people improve their lives, because really the ripple effect of people who help people improve their lives means it improves things that are around them. And coaches like yourself, I would never want to minimize that. But we're both broadcasting from Canada today. I love having other Canadians on here, but it's you're broadcasting from a place called Cambridge, Ontario. Now, I'll tell you this. I live in Kelowna, British Columbia. I was born and raised here. Born of parents who are from Cambridge. My mom, one of 12, and almost the entire family stayed there. My dad, one of 6, and almost the entire family stayed there. I literally have hundreds of relatives in the Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo area. When you told me you're from Cambridge, that just shot an arrow right into my heart. How long have you lived in that area?
I've been in Cambridge for about 24 years now, originally from born and bred in Mississauga, Ontario. So not far, as you know, from Cambridge. So
went into the suburbs a little bit, though, because Mississauga is basically Toronto now, right?
yeah. That's at the time that's what we're trying to get out of, right? A little more of a country feel. Although Cambridge has turned a little bit more city now too. So it's just like everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Beautiful place of the world to be from. I'm grateful to be a Canadian. Welcome to heCast today, Bill. I want to, there's all sorts of, every time I have a coach on here, who specifically resonates with the message that He Changed is putting out there. I love talking to coaches and getting their perspective. But before we kind of get into that, most coaches, in my experience, become coaches in whatever modality it is. If it's a business coach or athletic coach or a life coach, or specifically parts of life, personal development coach, most of the time it's as a result of their story. And sometimes the story leaves clues. I'm super curious. How long have you been doing this? And what was it that led you to becoming a coach?
Well, essentially, I feel like I've been a coach most of my life, because even as a young person, my friends would come to me be told I was a good listener and maybe give a little bit of advice here and there. So it's always come kind of natural to me. But going through a lot of jobs that I didn't like, warehouse jobs in the last 10 years prior to doing this, doing sales jobs, it just never felt like me. I always felt like there was something else out there for me, like to be helping others. And then a light bulb went off a few years ago when I got laid off from a job I didn't like anymore anyway, in sales. I said, you know what, I'm going to make a change now. I'm going to go try to get into coaching. Life coaching was a little new to me, but in a sense it wasn't. So I went and got certification a few years ago out of Rhodes College there in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
and just went from there. So I can dive a little bit deeper into my story if you want in a few minutes, but that's kind of how I came to coaching.
Okay, so the idea of changing careers midstream, us of a certain age, I'm a Gen Xer, and I
Yeah,
remember in high
same.
school being told that I figured so. I figure, being told, I don't know if you were told this where you grew up, but in my high school they said, hey, look, the baby boomer generation, they had one, maybe two jobs. Your generation is going to have five, six careers, and certainly the idea of that. Um, at the time was kind of daunting. You've experienced it. You've gone through some of these different things, these different positions and whatnot. I'm curious, when you decided to take the plunge and move into something that felt more, that resonated with who you are as a character and how you're built, um, the before and after. I'm curious
Yes.
as to what has surprised you the most is how much of it was exactly what you thought it was going to be, and how much of it was something completely different.
Yeah, well, so part of what I do is becoming an entrepreneur after always relying on just going to work every day, getting that paycheck, right? So that was pretty
Mm-hmm.
daunting. It's daunting for myself, for my wife. Um, so it was just in going through all the coaching and learning how to do that and just how that comes naturally. What the heck do I know about running a business, right? So that's been, I
Yeah.
guess, the biggest challenge with things. And then staying committed and doing all the behind the scenes work I got to do, whether that's working on the technical stuff, which I wasn't always great at, your website, your course that I created, all that stuff. So the
Mm-hmm.
biggest challenge is just all that extra work that comes along with running your own business, basically, right? The coaching stuff I'm good with, but the other stuff I've really had to work on. So that's been the biggest challenge, I guess.
Yeah, you got to wear a lot of hats when you do that. I
Yeah.
similar something similar. I used to work for Costco, and then I built a financial career on the side, and building the
Mhm.
financial career on the side. I mean, um, the licensing and the learning about the different financial products and strategies and all that stuff. That's one thing, but learning how to actually build your clientele and build your business. I mean, it's people could make and have made courses on just to do how to do that, how to
Yeah.
network yourself, how to get yourself out there, how to make these things happen. And you're doing all these things at the same time, and it's in a place where it's an extremely vulnerable space. Did it take you a
Mhm.
while to get going, and did you do it on the side, or did you literally quit cold turkey and dive in with both feet once you got certified?
In hindsight, I should have done it on the side because it was a bit of a struggle in the beginning financially.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I just felt like I got to go all in because I thought
yeah,
about doing this prior, for a good couple of years prior to doing it. Um, and so, like I said, if you can't go back in life, right? Maybe I could have tried a little, but I just all in or nothing for me because it's just
yeah.
like this. I'm at a stage in my life now where it's just like I got to do this, right? There's always self doubt. There's always going to be self doubt in anything that we do. So it's just getting over that and just like, no, I'm going to start. And did I have 100 clients a month right away? No. Do I still? No.
Yeah.
But it's just getting those first couple and then gaining that trust and then just building it from there. So
Well, and I mean, you talk about your story. I mean, this is a part of your story. I mean, the fact that you're able to relate to people. I'm certain that money and business and all that. Like it's funny. I'm in the financial planning side of financial services, and sometimes I feel like, I mean, I replace the Kleenex box on my desk 3-4 times a quarter sometimes, because you feel like you're an armchair coach or an
sure.
armchair counselor, whatever you want to call it, bartenders,
Yeah.
hairstylists, financial
Yeah.
planner. You dove into that, so I'm certain that you can probably take a lot of these experiences and use them towards helping other people figure out a perspective of where they're at and where they want to go.
Absolutely, and that's what a lot of my it's a lot of what I do comes from my own experience. And if you like, right now, I can dive into my story a bit, and it's
Well, I'd
kind
love
of
to hear how you I'd love
explain.
to hear what brought you to where you're at right now, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go all the way back to when I was 2 years old. That's when my parents got divorced, my mother and my father. So I never remember my parents together. Being
Okay.
at being the age of two. And then I was about 6 years old. Yeah, going into grade one, 6 years old. And my dad met another woman, ended up getting married. And it was shortly after that that the physical and emotional abuse started from my stepmother.
Oh
So
no, man.
yeah, so that was wonderful. Um,
Yeah.
so just dealing with all that as a child, and then, when somebody's abusing you in whatever form that is, they have a hold over you. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even feel like I could go tell my father. And quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly, um, he never really heard me anyway. To this day, he
Mm-hmm.
still doesn't hear me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got into, fast forward a little bit or a lot, when I got into coaching, I
Mm-hmm.
first thought, oh yeah, I can help people who are stuck, who are needing some motivation, who need to be heard, all that. And I tried that for the first 6 months or so. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
really get a lot of um, clients or even discovery calls from that. So it's just like, is this working? Why isn't this working? I'm like, I don't think I'm being true to who I can actually help, right? So
Yep.
I went back, I did some soul searching, and I'm like, I want to be able to help people who've had similar experiences to me from maybe their childhood trauma, and or that leads to dealing with difficult or toxic parents.
Right.
So I just feel a little bit more aligned with that. Now, the challenge with that, people from my generation, and specifically men, I'm so happy to be on this show today because I've really been gravitating to wanting to help men more. Not that I don't want to help women, but I just think
Yep.
traditionally women are a little bit more open to helping themselves, maybe discovering some of their past traumas or whatever, or just
Yep.
just in general, right?
Yep.
um, where guys, and if I'm jumping in too quickly on this, stop me, but where
No, not at all.
us as guys, especially being a fellow Gen Xer, it's like,
Yeah.
um, inside you're just this shit's just eats up inside of you, but like
Yeah.
I'm weak if I go get help,
Well,
so
the stigma, and I mean, we talk about the stigma all the time. One of the things, again, we've been from the very start, unabashedly talking about how we want to help change the world, and we can't do that
yeah,
alone. One of the things that we want to do is we want to take back the phrase "man up," and I think a lot of the millennials and the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha, the people under us, um, don't necessarily understand what the phrase "man up" was when we were growing up,
mhm,
and we were told that by many of our baby boomer predecessors that whenever we felt anything that they would view as weak, we would just be told to suck it up, to man up. And what
yeah,
that meant was bury it, essentially. Bury it, don't
yeah.
worry about it,
Suck
move
it up,
on, move
Buttercup.
forward. Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, that's exactly it. And we want to take man up back. And the idea of manning up is to go, whoa, 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 hold on. Let's take some stock as to where we're at right now and totally evaluate where we're at right now, and then springboard that into exploring why we are where we are right now and taking responsibility, even if it wasn't our fault. Like again, in many different modalities, they talk about the idea of is not everything is our fault, but everything is our responsibility. So taking responsibility, that's what manning up really is actually looking at things the way they are and taking responsibility for it and cleaning it up. And if we did that, um, that would be a huge thing. And it's interesting to me that in your first experiencing coaching, the first amount of time that you were experiencing in coaching, that right there became sort of a focal point. Um, did you, when it comes to your trauma, and trauma is there's the big T trauma, the small T trauma, all of that stuff, but trauma is trauma, and whatever it is that that stops us. Had you dealt with that personally before you became a coach, or since becoming a coach, were new insights introduced to you about what it was that you went through and how it's affected you all these years later?
That is fantastic question. Thank you. That's one of the best questions I've had from a podcaster in a few that I've been on. I really appreciate that.
Right
Um,
on. I
so
fall into them
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. So getting into my, if we can go back again, getting into my late teens, well, mid-teens, I started to rebel, all that stuff, and then getting into my late teens. And my goal was just to, when I got older, my stepmother couldn't physically abuse me anymore, right? Because I was bigger and everything, but she could still psychologically screw with my head. So my main
Hmm.
focus was to get out and get my own place. So I got a warehouse job, paid pretty good money, got out, right?
Hmm.
So then but then I got into drinking a little bit. Now, some may say that's normal in your late teens, early 20s, and it is. But I think I was drinking and partying and working and just to mask my issues from my childhood, right? So I
Yep.
never really dealt with it. And then I
Yep.
got into my 30s, got married, and then had a couple of kids, and then still kept bringing the kids around their grandparents, my dad, my stepmother, right? Still not
Hmm.
dealing with it. Maybe having a few stiff drinks while I'm at my dad's just to deal with the hour or two that we were there.
Right.
So did I deal with it? No, not right away. It wasn't until I got into my late 30s, early 40s that I started to get some flashbacks. I started to have, whether that was through dreams, whether that was through just a flashback as you're driving down the 401 here in Ontario.
Yep.
Not good.
Yep.
So then I
Sure not.
finally, getting into my mid 40s ish. So full disclosure, I'm 54 now.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
that's when I said, you know what, I got to deal with this. At the time, I was in a new relationship, and because all that stuff, all that trauma, that totally affects your relationships, your work relationships, everything, right? Um, so I started to I got some help. I went to some counseling, started, but even then, it didn't fully feel like, hey, I'm fixed now, right? I don't think you're ever
Right.
fixed, but I didn't feel like I was totally good.
Yep.
And then get back to your great question. When I went through my certification, I went back to school. Here I am going back to school in my early 50s.
Hmm.
And we had to do some of that self-discovery. It wasn't sit in class all day. Here's your lesson. There was a lot of interaction, a lot of um, work on yourself,
Yep.
self help. Excuse me. So
Yep.
that was really healing for me, and it really made me realize that yeah, I can do this. I can turn this around, and I can help others who are struggling
The
with the same kind of things.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious about that. I love light bulb moments. Like one of my favorite compliments that I get from somebody who listens to this show or watches it, is when they had a light bulb moment. I just love that when
Yeah.
when somebody says something, and usually it's a sentence or two that you wouldn't think would be profound, but sometimes that the right set of words at the right set of time for the right set of ears, everything just clicks like a lock. It's like a combination lock, and you hit the third thing, and
Yeah.
boom, it just pops open. I'm curious about your light bulb moment or moments that you had when you were discovering these things.
Um, I don't know if there was one specific moment, but there definitely was a progression.
Yep.
So when my kids were young, I played hockey growing up, and that was a huge outlet for me for my own stuff. And then once I've got married and everything, I started to coach. And so I've been Coach Bill for about 20 years now, but not just in this capacity.
Yeah.
And the passion I had to coach those kids was unbelievable.
Yep.
I would even be distracted at my current job because I'm doing a pregame speech and all that stuff. But I got so much more from it personally because it was like, um, I would just relay not just hockey stuff, but like life lessons and how that feeling it gave me of
Mm-hmm.
helping the kids, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
all those kids in the NHL right now, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It was more about the life lessons, and I had 15 sets of eyeballs on me, and they were
Yep.
engaged, right? So
Yep.
that was kind of the beginning of knowing that, hey, I got to do something else other than that sales job or that other job. No disrespect to anybody who goes to work every day and does the 9 to 5, because I've done it most of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of the progression. I hope I'm answering your question right. And
Yeah.
then going through that course and rehashing the stuff, but in a
Yep.
way where I had support from my classmates. It was crazy, our cohort, how we just connected. It's about 20
Yep.
of us, and it was just so supportive. And I never really had that support from from people outside of maybe some immediate family members, you know,
Right. Right.
like my mom. Um, my mom, who I didn't see much growing up because of my situation, um, is like an angel, like is just amazing for support, always has been, right? But not everybody has that. So, yeah, so there was those kind of moments as I was progressing, going along, and then always that something like I mentioned earlier that's in the back of my head, thinking I need to help people. Like there's something inside here that is not I'm not living to my true authentic self, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean, right?
Well, oh, of
So
course. Like it's about purpose, and I mean, like when we did the pain points for, when Candace and the team, I'm just the host of the podcast, right? The He Changed It team, obviously, they looked at to see what the pain points were for so many men out there. It's lack of purpose. I mean, it's
yeah.
and it's not that you can't work a warehouse job, quote unquote, and not have purpose. You totally can. But many
Oh
times
yeah,
we don't
absolutely.
even do the deep dive exploration as to what it is out there that would help give us purpose. And clearly, if you've been Coach Bill for so long, you were scratching some itches you probably didn't even know you had, because you had outlets where
Hmm.
you could be your true self out there. There's so many guys out there that have never even done that work. They've done exactly what you talk about. They connect the dots we're
Hmm.
supposed to connect. I say this all the time on the show. Forgive me for the people who hear me say this all the time, but I love saying the same words to new people. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, how many of us were told, get a good education or get a good job, buy the house, get the wife, have the kids, and
Yep.
and 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 we're so driven when it comes to tasks that many times we don't realize the purpose. And along the way, there's good things that happen when you have the kids. There's that extra gear of love that, for many, if not most of us, comes into play, and you're like, okay, this does feel like purpose, but it's kind of masking who our ability to go and find what our purpose would be, whether those kids were there or not. You know what I'm saying? Is
Exactly what
purpose something that
that's
you?
what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I thought I got married, I guess maybe a touch late compared to some people. I was 33 when I got married, but I
yeah,
almost got married out of um in that marriage. I'm not with her anymore, but in that marriage I almost settled and almost, oh well, I'm in my 30s, I got to get married and maybe that'll make me happier. Oh, I got to buy that house because my dad rented his whole time. I always wanted to buy a house, worked my butt off. Oh, I bought a house. That's going to make me happier. Have the kids. That's going to make me happier. No, it makes you happy to a certain degree. You love your
sure.
children. You're proud of your home. But yeah, where's my purpose? I'm going to work every
Yeah.
day, 40, 45 hours a week. And I've had multiple different jobs, right? Some better than
Mhm.
others, but I've never just felt like I had that purpose. That's an amazing point that I can totally relate to. And I'm sure a lot of guys out there can.
So yeah, like the idea, is that something that in your practice that you touch on a lot, with people? Are you helping them kind of dive into who they are, and does it come down to purpose? Does it do people Is that some of the light bulb moments that you've had working with people?
It varies from person to person.
Yeah.
I would say a higher percentage of my clientele have been women, and I'm really
Hmm.
trying to get more and gear more into the guys and helping men.
Hmm.
Um, so for women, generally speaking, it might be a little bit in certain situations without divulging some client information, but
Oh, of course. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
just a feeling of overwhelmed. I'm just here to be the mother. I'm just taking care of the house, and um, maybe they work as well, so it's like they don't know what their purpose is either. So it
Hmm.
comes up from time to time, but it varies from person to person, right?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with men, like there are guys right now who are listening to us as I'm about to say this next point, that are going to resonate from it right now. And there's some guys who are going to get emotional when they hear this. I mean, how many guys are out
Mhm.
there where they mask all the tasks of life as their purpose? Well, if I make sure that I get my kids in the right sport, if I make sure that I support my wife in what it is that she's doing, if I make sure that I pay these bills, um, you know, get these, whatever it is, a vacation for the family, all of these things, that we're almost putting, thinking that stars are going to be put up somewhere on some ledger for us, and that's our
Mhm.
purpose. And then we realize, oh man, um, many times those things that we do are invisible to everybody else, but we think that we're trying to almost earn our way into that purpose part that you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And it's a silent thing. There's a lot of guys out there who just, that's what they're doing, and then they run into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall when it comes to the area of fulfillment, personal fulfillment, whatever that looks like, and the disconnect is there. And there's so many guys who are listening to this right now, and it's not surprising that more women might gravitate towards a coach than men, because many times guys don't even know what they don't know. And I think that's part of the reason that we have conversations like this, is so guys can hear that and go, well, wait a second, hold on. And they can take that and put it overlay it over their own life.
Yeah, because it's the worst feeling, and I've been there myself. Like the worst feeling of thinking you're alone, right? The
Yeah.
expectations from others, whether that's family, your wife, your kids, whatever. Um, where's the time for me? And then we think, oh well, maybe I'm being selfish because this is my job to take care of this, that, and the other, right? So that's some really good points from you, and I've been through it too, and I think that's why it took me so long to get to my purpose, because I felt like I had to have the house, the job, the steadiness of all of the above. And even my current wife, my forever wife, I should say, um, she was nervous me
The
starting
current
this
Mrs.
venture in
Ritchie,
coaching.
yes.
Yeah, because
Really, she was, hey?
she's always had that steady job, and her ex was, whatever, went from job to job or whatever. But yeah, so I had a little bit of that anxiety. Well, and putting more pressure on myself, right? Excuse me, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have that steady paycheck from previous jobs coming in, right? So there's a lot that we deal with that we just don't feel um, that we can share. And then, as you know, people you've talked to, I'm sure, and stories you've heard, that can lead to some very, very negative things, right?
Oh yeah, it's a downward spiral. I mean, it becomes a downward spiral, because you can only, for many, if not most men, and we talk about, divorce rates and things like that, that's not sustainable. It's not, it's
Yeah.
at some point you're going to hit a rock bottom moment. You're going to have something happen, a catastrophic moment where everything kind of comes to a grinding halt. And then you don't necessarily know what to do. I want to kind of switch to, it's very easy to focus on the problem. I think we live in a society that has thrived on focusing on the problem. In fact, whatever the problem might be, I think we have legions of people in tribalism, where polarization has affected our entire society by focusing on the problem. Whereas it's pretty fun to focus on the solution once you start going down that path. Once you start realizing, okay, this is here. I'm going to now take responsibility for what's here, and I'm going to try and find some solutions. Safe to say that's the number one thing that you do as a coach, is let's move into solution mode as quickly as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. First stage, I always try to be there, and especially for guys, but for anybody, is just to listen, because there's so many people that feel they have nobody to talk to. So once
Mm-hmm.
they are finally feeling heard from me, then that's when I progress to some solutions, some motivational ideas to help get you there, help get you unstuck, whatever you may be dealing with.
I love that you said that first. Is that the first thing is that people need to be heard. And perhaps sometimes these guys who are in that quiet life of desperation place, they don't feel heard. And maybe they
Yep.
can't even articulate what they would want to be heard about. Perhaps that might be some of it too. So when you start with somebody, is that what it is? Is it exploration as to how they're feeling, and then you move into the why they're feeling that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And that may not just be the first session, that
Mm-hmm.
might be a couple of sessions to get that out, to get them comfortable, discovering that. Because as a coach, I'm not just here saying, do this, do that, do this, do that, right? It's that person needs to put in the work as well. I guide you, I help get you there. I may
Yeah.
help you, I may ask some intriguing questions or some to get you to that wow moment that you may have. But yeah, it's definitely some people are ready to go and just talk, but some, like, guys specifically, they don't they don't know how to do it or what they're doing, right? So in my
So for guys who are in
when
that
I first
situation,
so go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. So I got to ask you about that one
No,
point.
go ahead.
Please put a
Yep.
pin in what you were about to say. For guys who
Yep.
are out there that can self-identify with what you just said, they're like, "Yep, I'm the guy that doesn't know what I don't know. I just know I don't feel
Yep.
very good right now. I just know
Yeah.
that life is not in color for me. It's kind of in black and white right now. I've got my head down and I need to put my head up."
Yeah.
For a guy who can self-identify with that, what are some of the things that you would suggest might be something to think about? What are some of the reframes you can throw out there?
Just looking at like, so if they're looking for a result, what would that result look like if you could get there by the end of this hour or by the end of next week? What would your life look like if you weren't dealing with all this stuff and you could just get there? What do you think that would look like? And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that would look like this or that, or I could be happy. I would have some direction, right? So there's really interesting as a coach sitting on this side that you see that person starting to really think about that because like you said, they don't know what they don't know, and you know they've always been in that. The wording isn't coming out right for me here. Sorry, because it's it's exciting like seeing that from somebody,
Yeah.
right?
Oh gosh,
So
it's
to
so
have that,
empowering. It's
yeah,
so
yeah,
empowering. I
because
love it so much. The light bulb moment's the greatest thing. And the light bulb moment, if I'm
yeah,
hearing you right, it comes from self-exploration questions like, what would happiness look like for you?
yeah.
What would fulfillment look like for you? Am I on the right path? Is that some of the questions that you
Yeah,
ask?
absolutely, right? Those probing questions that just gets the person thinking like, oh yeah, if I could be happy. Because some people come in, like you said, with the head down, the confidence is shot. I've been there before where I've lost my confidence and way back to all my abuse. It took me years to regain my confidence, right? Like when I
Mm-hmm.
went in to play hockey, I was always this confident guy, but outside of that, you know, you just you sink, like you just don't know how to get it back, right? Um,
Yeah. Well, with guys
so
too,
yeah,
like the hockey was probably a lifeline for you. Again, like
absolutely.
whether it was coaching or playing, it was a lifeline for you. So that's why fitness is such an important thing because we
Yep.
develop all this stuff that gets built up, and then you go into a weight room or you go into a run a marathon or run a treadmill or whatever it looks like for you, but you
Mhm.
can get some of that stuff out and outlets are really really important. And I think we have a lot of subconscious outlets too, which is why many times we avoid the self-exploration stuff because we're kind of getting it
Mhm.
sort of out a little bit in different ways, but we're never
Yeah,
really hitting it head on necessarily.
yeah,
And whether it's fear, whether it's a lack of awareness, whether it's whatever causes that, you talk about the idea of confidence. I mean, and you try and explain it to people, to women specifically, like the idea of the quote unquote the fragile male ego. That's how some people refer to it. But like when it comes to males and confidence, that can be a really slippery slope. But if I'm hearing you right, that can also be a pretty quick staircase upwards when you start focusing on it.
absolutely. I made a great point there about going to the gym, being physical. That's great, gets the dopamine going, but what happens after that? I went to the gym
Mhm.
today, had a great workout, or I'm back to that job I don't like the next morning, or I'm back home where I'm having difficulties with my wife right now, or stress,
Yeah.
whatever your stresses are, right? So it's dealing with, getting it out, getting that workout in your mind out. And if I can tell you a very quick story, so I did all my hockey
Please.
stuff, and then this year, just for a little extra to get back in the game. It's been a few years. My kids are 21 now. They haven't played hockey for a while, so I've been out of the game for a while. So I thought, hey, I'm
Yep.
going to give reffing a shot. And if you know what kind of hockey player I was a little aggressive, and the refs didn't like me too much. So for me to become a ref, it's almost like some karma is going to happen here. But I got so much anxiety with it in the beginning. Like I was excited to
Hmm.
try it, and then once
Hmm.
I got out there, it was just like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like you get a level 1 certification. It's very basic stuff. You already kind of know the rules, but the game happens so much quicker. Your head's on a swivel. Anyway, um, so the first couple of weeks, I was like really, really stressing. And here I am, oh, this coach, I help other people get through their stuff. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting through this? So then I started to talk to myself out loud. I'm on the ice. I'm like, okay, you got this. You got this. They're 10-year olds. You got this. The coach yells at you. It's okay. Like, I had to physically start telling myself because how easy is it for us to say, hey, oh, that was stupid. Oh, I did
Hmm.
something stupid. Oh man, I can't do this. I suck, right? Your
Yep.
brain hears everything.
Yep.
So here I am, and I used to do some of this years ago too in the car. And when we were younger, there was no Bluetooth. So if you're talking to yourself in the car, you're looking like a crazy guy, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
But
Yep.
now it's okay because you got Bluetooth. You can be talking on the phone. So I'll pep
Yeah,
talk
that's
myself
right.
sometimes, and I would pep Mike going back to the refereeing story for a quick sec. I would
Yeah.
go to the rink, which is only a few minutes away. I didn't have a lot of time, but I'd be like, "You got this. Come on. What are you worried? Let's go." And just like pumping myself up a little bit, right? So um, those are through
That
some
works,
things I've
by the
learned in the
way.
past. But
That totally works,
yeah,
by the way. For guys who are out there who like it really does work to give yourself a little bit of positive talk. And if you do it to a banger of a song, something that whatever it is
yeah,
that resonates with you, that stuff works. You can raise your vibration artificially, if you want to call it that, but it's not really artificially. Because what you're doing is you're reframing, you're refocusing yourself, right? Like talking about being a referee. Like it's funny, a couple of years ago now, we had for our American viewers, you might not know who this is, but we had Ron McLean on the show a few years ago, and I mean, half of the conversation was talking about him as a referee. A lot of people
yeah,
don't realize, yeah, he's one of Canada's, premier legendary broadcasters. He's the host of Hockey Night in Canada, has been for decades, but he's also a referee. And we talked a lot about that, and the idea of balancing. He said refereeing is like holding a baby bird, is how he referred to it. You put yourself in that position. Yeah, you better figure out a way to develop a thick skin or be able to deal with the criticism.
Mhm.
And I mean, how many times in our lives are we criticized by, bosses at work or coworkers who want to one up us, or our wives or our domestic partner, um,
Yep.
and we don't necessarily have the equipment to deal with that. You wear a helmet when you're on the ice, that's great, but what are we doing to equip ourselves for something that happens almost to everybody in every facet of life? And what are we doing? Are we preparing ourselves with mental armor? Many of us aren't, and I think some of the things you're talking about here will help people with that. And I'm certain self-esteem, self-image, self-worth is something that you talk about with your clients a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's usually in the early to mid stages as well, you know. And for self care, like you mentioned, working out, and we're talking about talking, but it's okay. Like it's okay to be a little selfish, because if you can't take care of yourself, how the heck are you gonna show up and take care of others? You
And it's
know,
funny the way you
I
say
think
it like that, because it's not selfish, but we almost have to tell ourselves that it's okay to be selfish because for so many people, it's so far down that other path. You almost have to use that word. Self-care is not selfish. If you are caring for yourself, you can care for others in a much stronger way for a lot longer of a time. Would you agree with that?
absolutely, and a lot of people that have gone through certain trauma issues, we become, like speaking from experience, we become people pleasers. We put
Yeah.
everybody else, first before ourselves. Took me years to finally say, "Hey, you know what, bud? You're worth it too. You know, you're worth taking care of yourself." Because I was having some panic attacks, some chest pains. I'm having a heart attack, acid reflux, whatever. Right? Your body just
Mm-hmm.
starts to break down, and your body starts to tell you. So you're talking about a light bulb moment earlier. That was a light
Yeah.
bulb moment for me. I'm taking on too much here. I got to start taking care of myself. I don't know if you can see in the video, I'm not a huge guy, but like I go to the gym every other day. I'm committed to that.
Yep.
It's just self care, right? So when I am talking to guys, it's more like they're putting everybody that's admirable in one hand, right? You're putting your
Yep.
family ahead of you. But if
Yep.
you have a heart attack because of stress or whatever, and you're gone, how are you going to take care of anybody?
That's yeah. You just explained the definition as to why the mission statement, the mandate, why he changed it exists, is because that is happening daily. It's happening all the time. And there's a heart attack, but I mean there's many links that are out there, and I'm not a health expert, but at the same time I've read and talked to so many people that talk about, how if your body or your life is really stressed, it's gonna come out somehow. And if it if
Exactly.
it, and there's links to cancer, there's links to all sorts of different physical ailments, like you said, heart attacks, stress. one of the number one concerns when it comes to heart health. And it's going to come out somehow. So how do you want to deal with it? Do you want the body to take over and deal with it in a way where you're not going to be here? Or do you want to take control and deal with it yourself? I love these points that you're making. You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to make sure that we got to. It's on my list here. And that's people pleasing. And I want to know, the idea of people pleasing, again, it's one of those things that maybe we might have heard it. And I think, especially like with the word trauma, there are words that have been kind of co-opted and changed around a little bit, that sort of thing. But I want to talk about people pleasing because really at the end of the day, that can be something that seems like an admirable trait to people on the inside, like you said, but can be an extremely dangerous thing long-term for people. Let's talk about people pleasing for a second.
Yeah, so as it may sound, you're always putting others before you, but almost like to the point where it's detrimental to you and your own health, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would, no matter what my internal feelings were about my father, let's say, I would
Mm-hmm.
always show up for the Sunday dinner, with my family, even if I didn't want to go. I would always go there to please him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is that coworker who maybe doesn't pull their weight, right? Oh, I'll just do that for you, Jim. I'll help you out there. You know what I mean? You're helping them, but at what cost to you? So
Right.
it's always, always, always putting people first. And my wife is a bit of a people pleaser. Like when we first met, I seen how much she always like does for her family, and it's not always reciprocated or appreciated at times. Um, so it's just always, always, always doing everything for everybody else to your own detriment.
Let me ask you this. I've never really brought this point up with anybody here, but I want to throw it at the wall, see if it sticks. The idea of it should never be that if your goal is to be doing something for somebody else, that it should create anxiety.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where I've seen people who run around like crazy to do something nice for somebody to the point where it gives them anxiety and hurts them. And obviously, I'm not talking about, if
yeah,
your daughter's getting married or something like that. I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about like everyday things where if you don't feel like you do it right, does the person even know that you're putting this kind of effort into something or this kind
yeah.
of, emotional effort into something? If you're trying to do something nice for somebody, but it's causing you anxiety, perhaps it might be a good idea to explore that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So with me always doing that for many, many years, I finally got to the point where like, why am I doing this? Right? And that's fine to try to stop doing that, but those same people tend to suck you back into doing it again. So how do we fix that? Well, for me and for others, it's learning how to set boundaries, and most importantly, I feel is learning how to set boundaries without guilt. Hey
Okay.
dad,
This is important.
I
This
can't
is
come
super
over.
important here. I love this. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey dad, I can't come over this Sunday because we're doing this or that and the other. And I would make excuses a couple of times. Well, more than a couple of
Uh-huh.
times. If I didn't go, it would always be some drawn out excuse. I thought about it for like half an hour. What am I going to say to him to, it sound convincing, right? Why the fuck am I putting myself, excuse my language, why am I
No,
putting
no.
myself through all of this stress and anxiety? But I didn't know any better. So when I finally got to the point of I'm going to set a boundary without guilt, it's like drawing that line in the sand. Okay, I'm setting this boundary, and if you try to cross it, we're going to have a problem. You know, that's not threatening. That's just standing up for yourself and for your own worth, your own self care. So, and that's part of what I help people with too. With the boundaries are a big one. Boundaries are not easy for most of us to set.
Thank you for saying this, man. This is so important. The part where you talked about guilt, I mean, my gosh. Because if you set a pattern, like again, what we're talking about here is taking responsibility, right? We're not trying to make anybody a victim here. If you
Oh
have
no, no.
set a pattern where you have allowed people to walk all over you, because that's really what we're talking about here, right? They're taking advantage
Yeah.
potentially of whatever it might be, time, generosity, just steamrolling, their values over yours, and valuing something of them over you. If you've allowed it, right? Okay. It's 60 miles into the jungle. It's also 60 miles out of the jungle. You're going to have to, as you're setting these boundaries, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be pushback sometimes from some of these people. Sometimes you're being manipulated. Sometimes it is as innocent as this is the pattern that we've established, and now you're changing the pattern, or somewhere in the middle, people are going to come back at you for it, right? And that's where you can't be a little one-man tent in a windstorm. You gotta hold down. And if you hold down, it doesn't take long for holding down once or twice, standing up for yourself, whatever it is, creating that boundary and holding on to that boundary. It doesn't take that long for a new pattern to be established. And again, you talk about this confidence. It can lead to momentum in all sorts of other areas just by starting to set these boundaries. And those boundaries are set by you basically saying, I need to make sure that I put my airplane mask on, as the analogy goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, we don't want to be doormats, right? So and what you're saying is so good. So true. If I can set that boundary, in my case, it was my dad. So if I can set that boundary, my dad, maybe I'll have confidence to set a little bit of a boundary with my bosses, making me do double the work because Johnny just quit and I'm making the same pay, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe I can set a boundary there saying, hey, yeah, I'll do this extra work, but can we pony up a little bit? Or whatever the case may be, right? It can just snowball, right? You start gaining that confidence in your life. So it's huge.
Well, I just think about you coming up with that excuse for your dad. Like, let's go back. So again, talking about anxiety, like today is the day I can't go there. All right. How am I going to communicate that? Oh gosh. And now you start thinking about it, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas it should just be, hey, my tank's on empty right now. I can't do it today. That's all it should be. Right. And I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth and say, but I'm super curious if that was a boundary that you personally worked on. You did a good job articulating. I would think about a half hour, of excuses or whatever, and it would cause anxiety, all that. What was now, if you were to talk to yourself back then and say, no, this is what you need to do, what would you tell yourself to do?
I'd probably give myself a slap upside the head because I should have done it so much earlier.
But what would he say to dad? What would be like for guys who are out there going, oh gosh, I do that all the time. What, like give us the example of what you could say. Cause it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be an asshole to do this.
No,
absolutely. It doesn't have to be disrespectful. It can be respectful, but how do you establish boundaries with people? If for people who have stirred up some stuff right now, and they're thinking, okay, yeah, I need to establish some boundaries with some people in my life. What are some ways to do that?
I think it would just be getting that person's attention, sitting down with that person, because sometimes you got other people around, right? Maybe it's a mother or father situation, it's multiple people, and just say, hey, listen, let's have a chat. And it doesn't have to be a full-on heart-to-heart. It would just be like, I can't do this every time I'm coming over here, and if you don't like that, then you're not going to see me. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not as blunt as that. It just depends. It could be baby steps, how we work up to that moment. Mm-hmm. When looking back, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that I had to think of all these excuses. And if I was going to say going somewhere else, I better not post that on Facebook. Not that my dad was on Facebook much, but maybe my brother saw that and he told my dad, hey, he was there. You should have been here, So it's just a matter of trying to be as honest as possible, and then being okay if you do get that pushback, right? And if it's caught, because for a while it didn't work right away for me. So I'm not some guru here saying it worked right away.
No,
I did some boundaries, and it was listened for maybe a day, and then the same patterns kept happening, right? So sometimes it might be a break. It'd be like, hey, if you don't respect this boundary, if you don't respect me saying this to you, then I can't see you for a while.
Yeah. Oh man, time and space. Asking for time and space can sometimes throw people through a loop, because you're upsetting the apple cart a little bit. But you got to remember, it's good that you're upsetting the apple cart. That's what you want to do, because this apple cart's got rotten apples in it. I want to, empty this thing so I can put new apples in there. You know that, right? But the process of watching it go over sometimes can be jarring for people. But I love that we're having this talk right now, because there are people who heard you talking about what it was that you would go through. You know, the idea, oh, okay, so I told dad this, so I can't put on social media that, and all the little trappings that we pull ourselves into. And there are people who are listening to that going, yeah, that's ridiculous, Bill. You shouldn't have to do that. But yet they do it
Yeah.
themselves. And so put the mirror up and say, because again, we've talked about this on the show many, many, many times. Many times we'll treat our best friend when they're going through something, or they're having maybe they're setting a boundary or whatever. We'll treat them many times with respect and care and love. Imagine if we treated ourselves the way that we treat our best friends. Imagine if we literally treated ourselves with that much respect and that much courtesy. I love that we're talking about this, because there's so many guys out there that need to do that. One of the things that I personally am working with is the idea of trying to manage other people's feelings or expectations. That's something that's been something on my personal, and I don't know if it puts me in the pleaser category or if it's not, but I personally, when somebody is upset with me, especially if it's somebody that I care very deeply for, I will go that extra mile to make sure they're not upset. And if I know that they're upset, it almost puts me into like a fight or flight type place. And it gives me anxiety. That's one of the things, managing other people's feelings. It's crazy, because when you become aware of this and you start altering your behavior, yeah, it might create a little friction here and there, but usually that's only once or twice until you establish a new pattern.
And if you can jump in there for a sec, Mike, that
Please.
proves that you're, to me anyway, what I want to acknowledge is that you're an empathetic person. But we can't be empathetic to the point of being taken advantage of either, because that isn't going to do us any good. And when I was talking about all these scenarios, what I'm going to do, a lot of the times we go through all this stuff in our heart thinking, oh, what if they say this, I say that, I could do this. 9 times out of 10, from my experience, when you set that boundary, you're surprised. They're like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe it
Yeah.
takes a couple of tries, but it's never as bad as it is in our own heads, right? For
Yes.
lots of
Oh
things
my
in life.
gosh.
So,
Oh yeah. One of my business mentors, he said something very, very early in my financial career. He said, hey, listen, it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. He goes, just
right,
try
that's
and,
right.
try and keep yourself. And I'm a very emotional person, in a
Yeah,
good way. I'm a very enthusiastic person. And
yep,
so even when things are at the height of the enthusiasm, I can always go to myself, yes, okay, enjoy this, be present, because this moment is temporary. Everything is temporary.
yeah,
And
exactly.
learning to do that in the negative times and even to the rock bottom times, knowing that it's never as good as it seems, it's never as bad as it seems, is something I've carried with me as well. I want to ask, before we kind of move towards the end of this, I want to ask if you have any like books or resources that have been valuable to you. Is there one or two that or videos or films perhaps, that resonate, that you find recommending to people more often than not, or are there any that you would throw out there for people as recommendations?
Um, Full disclosure, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge reader, to be honest
Okay.
with you. So
Yeah.
so I don't some of the books I are people I have followed have been maybe motivational
Yeah.
type people,
Yeah.
and to go back to my youth a little bit, I have found some motivation for myself through movies, through
Yeah.
music, those kinds of outlets. And the one thing, and maybe I'm probably dating myself now, but it's Sylvester Stallone and all the Rocky movies, you know.
Absolutely.
Just such good messaging. It's not about just boxing. Half the movie isn't even about the boxing. It's about the messaging and, being so down, so low and fighting through and keep on punching, right? So I don't want to steal his tagline at the end of my videos or whatever I'm doing, but for me, it's keep pushing, keep pushing through. So that's what has done it for me. But I do need to get into more reading. So that's always been a challenge for me. And that's my grade 3 teacher, Mrs. Scrub's fault, because she made us read high level books and it deterred me from enjoying reading. So I'm
more
not a
more of
coach
that
that
small
promotes a lot of
more of
books.
the more of that small T trauma. No,
Yeah.
you talking about the Rocky story, like even every once in a while, there's a couple different, there's a lot of different Rocky montages that will motivate you, that'll get you out of the gutter if your mind is
Yeah.
there. that you can watch. But also there's montages about the story of how he got that movie
Yep.
made, and the
Yep.
motivation
Exactly.
of you talk about keep on punching in the movie. I honestly think that the spirit that you're talking about exists in those movies because of what it took him to get that thing made,
Yep.
and how he didn't relent on certain things, even when he absolutely could have taken the easy road a couple of times, but it wouldn't have
Yeah.
led
He
to
was
the
homeless, living
success.
in his car.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. His dog. He sold his
Yep.
dog. He sold Butkus.
Yep.
In the movie, it was Butkus. He sold. He sold. Just so the story itself is crazy. Like again, I don't think it has to be a book. Talking about the Rocky stuff. That's what I wanted to know. What is it that inspires you? What are some of the
Yeah.
things that you would recommend to get people inspired? I'm the same way. Film and music. We're Gen X, man. Film and
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
is is the soundtrack of our lives in so many
Yeah.
ways, and so I feel exactly the same way, um the Adjustment Bureau is a big one for me. I don't know if you've seen that movie or not, but I mean, talking about the idea of it's phenomenal way to look at mindset and
Hmm.
how things can change, and they can. And I think that
Yeah.
uh, as we move to a close here, I want to talk to people. Okay, so first off, if people want to find you, Coach Bill for you. So the number 4 and the letter U, coachbill4u.com is where people can find you, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's the website. Yep.
And do you do social media as well? Like, do you find yourself out there doing? Are you one of those guys creating a bunch of
Oh
content
yeah.
and stuff as well? Facebook, Insta? Are you on any of that stuff?
Yep. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on the TikTok, like us older
You're
guys
on the
would say.
TikTok? Yeah, yeah.
Not as much on the. I want to ramp up the TikTok. I'm also starting or have started a community. It's called school.com, or you've heard of school or not? SKOOL. I didn't send that to you for any of my contact info, but right on the school.com community, I also have a course that I created. It's called Breaking Free, a four
Mm,
module journey to emotional freedom. So it's free to join the school community group, but if you wanted to check out that course, that's additional on there. But so just kind of getting into that. I haven't been into that too much. Been working on a couple other things. So yeah, those are basically the forums as far as my website goes. If you're not sure about coaching, you've never had coaching before, I offer, like many coaches, I offer a free discovery call. And that's not a quick 2 minutes. Hey, how are you? Okay, let's get coaching. We take our time, 20, 30 minutes, however long it takes, just to
yep.
see if I would be a good fit for you. And quite honestly, if you'd be a good fit for me, right?
Yeah.
There might be certain areas that I just don't deal with, and I'm not going to waste your time just to get you as a client. So I think that's really important. We have to align with each other, right? So
That's a huge thing for me. Like I'm a relationship connection guy. Tony Robbins has a thing where he talks about the 6 basic human needs, and most humans have 2 of them as kind of the top. Relationship and connection
yeah,
is one of them. That's me. And so in my financial business, I want to make sure, like, it's so the temptation to just get as many clients as you can is so vast
yeah,
when you're a business owner, and once you can get to a place, more mentally than anything,
yeah,
because I truly believe, it works out the way it's supposed to work out. But like when you get to a place mentally where it's like, no, I want to make sure the clients that I get have a connection here, because when things are great, that's awesome, but when things aren't great, you want to make sure that connection is there, because that's how you weather storms, and so that's
absolutely.
something that I think is very important. I love that you feel that way. People can come and see you, so obviously you do online as well, so you don't have to live in the Cambridge,
Yeah,
Kitchener, Waterloo area.
yeah,
You can come see you anytime. I appreciate this. If As we kind of come to a close, you started talking about the traumas and things like that you went through, and how it led you to a place where you ended up helping people with their own. Um, I guess my question to finish off is, if there's 1 or 2 things that you find that you're saying to people more often, at the top of the list of things that you're saying to people who are going through something, they're maybe feeling a little lost. They might not know what the path forward is. What are 1 or 2 of those things that keep coming up continually?
I think the main thing I always like to leave with is you're not alone, and it's okay to reach out, whether that's with me, whether that's with somebody else. Just reach out. you know, um, and that's for anybody. And because we're on this podcast, I like to say for guys specifically, it's okay. It doesn't make you weak, right? It makes you strong, actually, where you realize, hey,
Yeah.
something's just not right here. I'd like to fix it. There's, in my world, it's a judgment-free zone. There's no judging. Because I've been there. I truly have been there. I've been down to some very, very low points. One point I didn't mention was, considered suicide when I was younger through my abuse,
Wow.
but I
Wow.
didn't. Sorry, we should have touched on that earlier, maybe, but
No,
I
no,
just don't
no,
want
no.
people to get to that stage, right? So reach out and you're not alone. And thank you
You
for
know,
what you're doing here as well, Mike. I really appreciate it.
oh, he changed it. Yeah, like you just basically, encapsulated again why he changed it's doing what it's doing, because there is nothing new under the sun. You're not alone. You're not the first person to go through this. And by the way, you are enough. For those who are listening to this here and they maybe need to hear
Yep.
that, you are enough. Believe it or not. Not that it's not, you don't have some stuff to take some responsibility for and deal with, but
Yep.
you are enough. You can do it. And when you do it, when you even start the process of doing it, you're going to start feeling better because you have momentum forward. And then if you can create some consistency with that momentum, you'll start to actually live it, that you are enough. You'll live
Exactly.
it, that you're not
Yep.
alone, and you'll be able to make that a part of your life. Bill, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your schedule to come on here today. I know that the team's going to reach out to you as well when it comes to resources and all that stuff. Again, we just want to link arms with everybody who feels the healing need for this world, whether it's our personal world, whether it's the world around us, locally or beyond that. We want to get this stuff out there and reawaken some of this stuff. You are certainly doing that. You've made a career out of it, a purpose out of it. Thank you very much for doing what you do, sir. It's very appreciated.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mike. This has been an enjoyable experience for sure. And I appreciate, like I said, appreciate everything you're doing as well. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here.
Outstanding. Oh, thank you so much. Again, I'll do the outro here. We'll say our goodbye privately, so hang on for a moment. Again, I
Yeah.
say it every show. This is why we do the show. This is why we do the show. I love that it's almost becoming a tagline. This is why we do the show.
Yeah.
Conversations like
It's cool.
this. Hopefully, people who are listening to this right now, there's going to be people out there who have one of these aha moments, wow moments, light bulb moments. If that's you, do what you can to reach out to somebody. You're not alone. If you haven't downloaded the He Changed It app yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Go to hechangedit.com. You can see all of the info as to where He Changed It is at right now, and then perhaps even see where He Changed It is going. And the goal is to change the world. Thank you so much for everybody who has supported us from the very start. We appreciate it very, very much. The numbers over the last, I'm told, I don't look at the numbers or anything like that for either of my shows. I just do it for the sake of doing it. But I've been told that our numbers are very impressive over the last month. Tens of thousands of impressions and views and comments and all that sort of stuff. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you very, very much. This has been another episode of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. My name is Mike Chisholm. Go change something.